Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Hello, Fappy. Welcome in. I know, I've been in a weird state of not wanting to do things in the evenings, but I am gonna be trying to do better from now on, I swear. Excusey. So yeah, tonight we'll be starting a new series within Tamora Pierce's Totality universe. The series is titled The Immortals, starting with Wild Magic. This is actually the first series of Tamora Pierce's I've ever read, and it's still my favorite. As much as I like everything by Tamora Pierce, it's kind of like the first Doctor is your favorite Doctor. It's like the first series is your favorite series. My way of going about things anyways. And thanks for this follow. Damn Smith. Welcome in. Never mind. Rawr. First comment on Kick, and it's like, yeah, nope. And enjoyed past tense, right? We only just started. I enjoyed your stream, even though you've only been live for 5 minutes and mostly on the starting soon screen. You enjoy me starting soon. In other words, you don't enjoy me actually being live and talking to you. Okay, thanks. Bye. And I don't have a lot new to share other than work gripes, which I already griped at you, Foppin, and probably shouldn't do so live. So I'm not gonna do so live. But yeah, this week I am gonna get back to streaming Final Fantasy 14. I have done some story off stream, but I don't care. We're just gonna figure out what's happening in Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, even though I completely forget. In the dungeon? Yeah, no worries. Anyhow, I'm just gonna jump into story time because that's what I want to do. Okay. Well. And let me know if music is too loud or too quiet. My brain is. Alright, we can game. For game, we could do. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, definitely. Sounds like fun. I'm just watching my VTuber just bounce out of his seat every time I speak now. He just. Yeah. I mean, you could stream on your channel if you wanted, but he would just be following me around and doing funny dances as I watch cutscenes. Eh. Only if reported and we're both small enough that no one would notice. Just don't keep the VODs. I mean, as long as it's... I mean, as long as the nudity mods are off or and such. It's the ones you saw making baby hotter. I don't know. I remember this story of I don't know if it was you or someone in the FC. It was just like I forgot I had that mod on and Horsefont's father just spinning penis. Let's just stop taking clothes off. I'll be fine. Yeah, that was me.
Hi, butt spot.
All right, Hildebrandt underpants aren't underpants. They're not. Fun butt. Yes. Everyone's got a fun butt. Hildebrandt's butts. Yeah, why did I say Horsefont? My brain. It affects everything on him but those. So they labeled something different. Cool. The man doesn't wear pants. Right. This dungus should have been out. I mean, maybe Square Enix going, we know mods exist, so we'll not make him nude to everyone who's using these mods, even though they don't like people using the mods. Just a safety feature. His bulge is too powerful. Back to dungeon though. Okay. Kill things. Or heal things. I'm not sure if you're a healer or DPS or tank at the moment. Okay. DPS. Okay. Chapter 1. Girl with a Pony. Each year at the end of March, a great fair was held in Kriya, the capital of Gala. Like thousands of others in the eastern lands, Aniwa Chamtong went there to do business buying ponies, in her case. This year, she had another transaction to make and was having no luck with it. At the end of her 5th day at the fair, it seemed she would never find the assistance she required. The prospect of taking her animals south with no one to help was an unpleasant one. Excuse me, Trader Aniwa? The speaker was a girl, shy and country bred. I heard you was hiring. She paused, then went on. A fair hand with animals. All kinds. She waited as Aniwa looked her over. A girl in a green wool dress, skirts short enough to show leggings and boots. Brown curls tamed by a headscarf fell to thin shoulders. A soft, full mouth said she was vulnerable. Her chin was entirely stubborn. A quiver filled with long arrows hung on her back. A bow rested in her hand, unstrung. "Is that yours?" the trader asked, pointing. Blue-gray eyes flashed. "I'd not had the nerve to carry it otherwise." String it." The girl hesitated. "Just what I thought." Aniwa jibed. "Who is it? Is it really?" The girl brought a coiled string out of her sash. With ease, she fitted it to one end of the bow and set it against her foot. Raising the free end of the string, she brought the other end of the bow down, hooking them together neatly. The bow strung, and in her grip, she turned sideways to it, caught the string in 2 fingers and drew it back to her ear in a smooth, practice gesture. Now Anya could see she wore an archer's wrists and arm guards. "I'd put an arrow up," the girl said, gently releasing the string, "but I'd hit someone, surely." Anya grinned. "I'm impressed. I can't draw a bow that big." The girl took the string off the bow, coiled it, and put it away. "Nor did I at first. I keep this one limber, or I still couldn't draw it." "Crossbow?" The question was out before Anya remembered. "I don't want to hire her. I want to send her home to her mama. She's a runaway for sure." "Yes'm, we have." Something flickered in her eyes. She looked down. "We had bandits at home. I stood watch with the sheep, so I learned crossbow and longbow and sling." A half smile appeared. "Not that I'm bragging." "We had," Aniwa thought. Did she change it because she wants me to think she's been gone from home a while? Or hasn't she got a home? Something looked around the girl, inspecting Aniwa with a large brown eye. I just realized I forgot to put up my book. Also, Kirby doesn't do shit anymore, which is sad. Aw. You've been a wino for a bit. Yeah. I need to remember how to stream. Kirby doesn't do anything anymore. That's sad. Just another minion that you can have by your side. They can't. Oh. That sucks. Okay. Something looked around the girl, inspecting Ani with a large brown eye. It was a shaggy mountain pony, steel gray mare. She was plump and well combed, and bore 2 packs easily. He put a croc on Kirby? What? Croc as in crocodile, or croc as in croc shoes, or the shoe? Lovely. Ooh. Sorry, I keep yawning now. Yeah. Yours? The girl nodded. How much would you ask for her? Anya motioned to the pen filled with ponies at her back. I'm in the market. I can't sell Cloud. She's family. All the family I've got. Again, Anya saw a flash of sorrow that was pushed aside. What's your name? The Chimera stuck her fingers into a pouch filled with a powder known as Eyebright. Dane, mum, came the soft reply. Dane Sarasri. The Eyebright made her fingers itch when Anya called on her magical gift. How old are you, Dane? 15. An aura of red fire, visible only to Anya, flared around the girl's face. The lie was a good one. Must have practiced it on the way, the trader thought wryly. But a lie, nonetheless. She looked about 13. Where are you from? Snowsdale, up north. About 2 weeks' walk. There was no flare of red. She had told the truth. Anya sighed. Are you a runaway? From home? Or a bad master? No, mum. The soft mouth trembled. I got no family. Just Cloud. No red fire this time. Anya dusted the powder from her hand. I'm Anya Chamtung of the community Rede. Dane looked puzzled. The what? Khmer are a people to the east. Rede is the name of the Khmeri tribes. One of the Khmeri tribes. Dane looked only slightly less baffled. Never mind. You say you're good with animals? Come here. She led the girl to her pen. Inside, 27 shaggy ponies in all colors and sizes milled around. I buy horses. I had an assistant, but he got offered a better job working for a horse merchant here, and I wasn't about to hold him back. If you hire on, and I didn't say I'd hire you, you'll help me take these south. It's 3 weeks' drive. If we don't bog down in the mud, if we aren't hit by raiders, and if we go before all these people take to the road. Take the road to the next fair. It'll just be you and me and my dog, Ahoy. Why don't you climb in and look him over? I want to see how you manage him. Dane glanced back at her mare, Cloud. Stay put, and no biting, she ordered sternly and clambered over the fence and into the pen. Poor thing. Must have been alone a long time to be talking to a mare as if she could answer back. Anya thought. She sat on the fence rail to watch. The ponies watched as Dane passed among them. Ears went back. Those close to her appeared to wonder which would be better, a bite or a kick. When a yellow stallion, the king of the small herd, minced into place at her back, the girl spun and put both hands under his muzzle, lifting his head to stare into his face. No, sir, she told him firmly. I'll not stand for any tricks. I may be human, but I'm not stupid. The stallion tried to rear. She forced him down, then blew gently in his nostrils to teach him her scent. He shuffled, then fidgeted, then bowed his head into submission. Horse lords, Anya thought. She's establishing domination over him and the entire herd. In years of managing horses, she'd never seen the like. This particular breed was famous for its fiery nature. One of the reasons she purchased them for her employers. She had achieved peace of a sort with them using her strength, her wits, and bribes. All horsefolk handled their animals that way. Only this child was different. Dane treated the stallion as if she were a pony herself, a dominant one. She isn't lying about her folks or running away, just about her age. If I let her go, she might get into trouble. There are too many predators around, looking for a pretty like this one. The road isn't too safe. But what is? She watched the girl move among the ponies, running her hands over each one. She was giving them bits of apple and sugar from her pockets. Anya was glad to see she could deal with the animals in a normal way. One display like that, with a stallion, was more than enough. You ride? She called. Dane came over to the fence. Some, mostly bareback. I could use a saddle. I know how to look after tack. How about hunting, fishing, tracking? The grin lit a face that was too thin and eyes that were too wary. I do all that. Had to get this far. I couldn't trust folks on the road. Some look like bandits. As Dane climbed over the rail, the shadow was back in her eyes. Grief, Anya decided. But anger, too. Tired of them already? The girl shook her head. I'm getting an oil I have, and a swab. The strawberry has ear mites. They're not too bad. If I get them now, he won't spread them to the herd. She went to the gray mare, who was plainly sulking, and opened one of her packs. How do you know you can trust me? Dane shrugged. I don't. How do you know you can trust me? Was that a joke? Anya's voice was stern, but her eyes laughed. Her last two assistants had possessed no sense of humor. Dane gave her a quick smile and climbed into the pen, a clay bottle and swabs in one hand. Anya watched, amazed, as the strawberry gelding trotted up to the girl. If someone had said that morning she'd see one of her charges willingly submit to an ear cleaning, she would have laughed herself sick. I shouldn't do it. She's a baby. There's all those rumors. No smoke without fire. Still, my magic will keep us safe at night. She can handle a bow. Dane, she called. The girl had finished the gelding's ears. She came over. Yes? I'll tell you right now. I've heard a lot of weird stories lately about monsters in the wild, attacking travelers. Things out of legend, so folks say. I haven't seen any myself, but that doesn't mean I won't. Are you sure you want to hire on? Dane shrugged. I hear tales. I need work, Mum. If I see monsters, I see monsters. My family was killed, my home burned by human ones. All right then. Here's the job, said the Khmer. You, me, and my dog take the herd south. Like I said, I have the gift, and I can shield our camp at night. It's 2 coppers a day, 2 silver nobles as a bonus at the end. I pay all expenses, and we share chores. No drinking, no drugs. If you leave me on the trail, you'll wish you died as a child. Jane giggled. At the end of the road, we'll see. We're bound for the capital of Tortal. The girl's face lit up. Where a lady knight is the king's champion, right? And they let girls in the army? That Tortal? You heard those stories too, Khmer murmured. Well, they don't let girls in the regular army, mind. Just the Queen's riders. Why, have you a fancy to be a soldier? Dane shook her head. Not me. If they take girls for that, maybe they'll let a girl be a hostler, or work around the camp, or some such. Her eyes were filled with painful hope. As it happens, they do let girls work as hostlers, or at least they let me. I'm in charge of the horses for the riders. Oh, glory, the girl whispered. I'll do whatever you want, if you'll take me on. Anya put a hand on Dane's shoulder, touched by her eagerness. We'll see. If we don't get on, I'll make sure you have some kind of work. I won't leave you stranded. Sound fair? Dane nodded vigorously. Yes, Mistress Anua. Anua offered a calloused hand. Then shake on it. And stop calling me mistress. My name's Anua. Dane returned the woman's firm grip. Anua Chamtong of the Community Rede, she said. I remember. Anua smiled. Very good. Now, will your cloud mix in with the others? No reason not to. Dane removed packs and saddle from Cloud's back. Stow your things with mine. Anua pointed to a canvas-covered mound in one corner. They'll be safe.
I tend to describe it.
They'll be safe. These ponies are better than guard dogs. Dane ushered Cloud into the pen and stored her packs with Anua's. She finished in time to stop Cloud from biting the yellow stallion, and then from kicking a blood bay mare. You behave, she ordered her pony. I mean it. Cloud flicked an ear back and lifted a hind foot experimentally. Dane leaned down and whispered in her ear. The mare snorted, then stood on all fours, looking as innocent as a summer sky. What did you tell her? Anua asked, letting the girl out to the pen. I said I'd sell her to the man that makes dumplings down the way. Anua chuckled. That's the threat my mother used on me. Look, I want you to meet my dog, Tahoe. She put her fingers to her lips and whistled two sharp notes. A large form surged over the rear wall of the pen and wound through the ponies, decking hooves and teeth with the ease of long practice. Coming over the fence in another easy jump, he sat panting at Anua's feet. He was as tall as his owner's hip, and covered with curling gray fur. He's near big enough to be a pony himself. Dane offered her open palm. The dog rumbled in displeasure and warily sniffed her fingers. Tahoe means ox in Khmer. Careful, he's a one-woman dog. Anua shut up. Tahoe's plumed tail had begun to wave. The wary guardian of her stock turned into an eager-to-please pup that licked Dane's hand and stood to sniff her face. He's supposed to be a guard dog, Anua continued, frowning. Not a pet. Not a dog who believes every human's his friend. Well, don't blame him. Dane looked up at Anuma apologetically. Her fingers scratched Tahoe in a place he couldn't reach, while his tail thudded in the dust on the ground. Animals just take to me, is all. Can you spare her, Majesty? The woman said to Tahoe. I'd like to get some grub, saving your presence. And your new friend is coming with me. Guard! She steered Dane away from the pen. At one of the cook tents littering the fairgrounds, Anua ordered a rich meal for them both. When it was over, they explored. After a while, Dane's eyes hurt from staring so much. Coming from a poor mountain village, she couldn't believe the variety they found at every turn. How are you fixed for gear? Her new employer asked. She was eyeing a pair of boots in a leather worker's stall. I'm fine, Dane assured her, meeting the Khmer's warning look. She insisted. Really? It was too wet. She swallowed, trying to speak, as if it were someone else's farm that was attacked. Too wet for a place to burn much, so I saved a lot. Clothes, boots, my sleeping gear. I really don't need anything. Seeing the woman's gray-green eyes remain suspicious, she raised a hand. Swear by the goddess. All right, then. Just remember, it's my responsibility to keep you decently clothed and outfitted. I don't want people saying I'm a skinflint. Dane thought of the huge meal she had just consumed. Just point them out to me, and I'll set them straight, she offered. Anya chuckled. Good enough. On their return, the Chimera raised a sleeping platform outside the pen. We'd best turn in, she advised. We leave an hour before dawn. Dane laid the bedrolls out, wriggled into hers, and took off everything but her shift under the sheltering blankets. Anua? The woman was nearly asleep already. Yeah? Thanks. Oops, wrong button. There we go. They had a cold breakfast. Fruit, cheese, and bread. Anya said little as they ate and packed. She split a pile of lead rein with Dane, indicating that she was to connect half of the ponies onto a string, while she did the same with the others. They worked quickly as the fair came to life and the air filled with breakfast smells. When the ponies were ready, Anya placed their packs on the first animal, on each string. Aren't you gonna put her on a lead? Anya pointed to Cloud, who stood free of the others, wearing only a halter and a cross expression. The mare snorted and just shook her head. She'll be fine, Dane assured the Chimera. She's as good as a guard dog that way. You know best, Anya said, dubious. Let's move them out. The Chimera led them away from the fairground and the traffic coming on. They had reached open road when she called for a mid-morning break. Digging apples out of her pocket, she gave Dane one. You eat this, she ordered. I've more in a basket for the ponies. Should have warned you, by the way. I'm a real bear in the morning. It's no good talking to me. I'll only bite your head off. You didn't take it personally, did you? Dane had begun to wonder if the Chimera regretted hiring her. She smiled her relief. It's alright. Ma always says. Her lips tightened. Ma always said there was no living with me until lunchtime. You miss her, Anya said gently. Dane twisted the stem of her apple. Her, Granda, our farm. Her face was grim. You took my life, those bandits. I saved things, like clothes and food, but all my family was gone, except Cloud. They wouldn't have even left her, except she was with me, and we weren't there. She got to her feet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak of it, asked the Chimera. Dane nodded. You have to, just to bleed off the poison from the memory. The girl shrugged. Well, it doesn't have to be today. She peered at the sun. We'll be at the cool spring by noon. A village, good-sized. Let's pass that before we stop again. If Anya and Dane were now well awake, so were their charges. They fussed at every turn. Luckily, many who passed them were traders who knew mountain ponies. They kept a respectful distance. Only Cloud, who seemed to realize she would go onto a string the moment she misbehaved, walked meekly beside Dane. The only time she offered violence to a bystander was when he, or she, was too interested in how well the strings were tied together. Dane worked on the ponies one by one, talking, pleading, cajoling. Repeatedly, she explained why she wanted them to follow Anya, without making a fuss. One after another, the ponies listened as she appealed to their better natures. Some people would have said these creatures had no better nature, but as Dane told Anya, she had found most animals listened if things were properly set out for them. Anya had explained things to ponies and horses for 28 years without the success this 13-year-old was having. How does she do it? The Chimera wondered, fascinated. They're ponies, by all the gods. Wonderfully clever animals, but they don't think. Not the way people do. Past the village of Cool Spring lay a rest stop. one of the springs that gave the town its name. Sheltered by elms, picketing the animals, the two women sat down to share a meal of bread and cheese. Tell me if you get tired, the Khmer ordered. I can go for hours once I get moving. I'm fine, Dane said. It was the truth. It was good to be in fresh air, headed away from the city. It was easier than it was coming all the way here. The roads are muddy. You know, the spring floods. Ever been to Korea before? Dane shook her head. Never saw a village bigger than Snowsdale till yesterday. She sighed. How can folk live like that? All mashed together? Aniwa shrugged. City people, they're different is all. They look down their noses if you didn't grow up Hendon. Getting to her feet, she stretched. Unless something goes wrong, we'll make Wishing Hollow by dark. We'll camp there. We're making wonderful time, thanks to you. Dane looked at her, baffled. Me? This is the fastest I've gotten clear of the fair in 6 years of trade. That's your doing. You must have the gift, though I'd never heard of it being put to such a use. Dane laughed. Oh, please. I have a knack with animals, but no gift. Ma. She stopped, then made herself go on. She tried to teach me. I never learned. I can't even start a fire. And gifted babies manage that. She was so disappointed. Wanted me to follow her path, I suppose. Aniwa touched the girl's hair. Your mother will be proud no matter what path you take, Dane. I don't know you well, but anyone can see that. Dane smiled at her. Thanks. They sat quietly for a few moments until Aniwa remembered something. I saw you draw that bow of yours, but I don't know what kind of shot you are. Dane shrugged. I'm good. Mind giving me a demonstration? Dane got up and took her longbow from her packs. Name your target. The wood was warm from the sun and bent willingly for the string. She drew it a couple times back to her ear, loosening her muscles. Looking around, Aniwa spied a fence post that would serve. It lay well within the range of such a powerful bow, but it wasn't so close that Dane would feel insulted. Walking out to it, she fixed her handkerchief to a post with her belt knife and returned. How about 3 arrows? Fair enough. Dane had already fitted 1 arrow to the string, and her quiver was on her back. Carefully she set her feet, and gently she brought the string back as she focused on her target. The arrow, when she loosed, flew straight and true. 2 more followed it. Aniwa gaped. All 3 arrows clustered neatly at the center of her handkerchief. Their heads were buried so deeply, she had to cut them loose. I take it this is something else you have a knack for, she said when Dane came to help. Granda thought so. The girl shrugged. It worked out for the best. His bones got to hurting him so bad he couldn't even string a bow, so I brought in all our game. The yellow stallion screamed a challenge to a passing draft horse and reared, pawing the air. Odds bobs! Dane yelled, exasperated. Can't a person take her eye off you for a moment without you acting up? She ran to the stallion's head and dragged him back down to all 4s, holding him until the draft horse walked calmly past. Aniwa came up to them, smiling. Time to get back to work. Well before dark, Aniwa led them out of sight of the road and into a grassy hollow sheltered by trees. It was plain other travelers stopped here. The fire pit was lined with stones, and a lean-to kept stacks of firewood dry. Toss you to give the ponies a going over, Aniwa suggested. For sticks, stones, whatever. Winner gets to dig the latrine trench and catch fish. Dane considered. I'd rather check the ponies. Aniwa grinned. Wonderful. I feel like a bit of fishing just now. Smiling, Dane went to work. It made no sense to give the ponies a thorough grooming while they were on the road. She got rid of the worst tangles and checked the animals' hooves. The strawberries' ear mites had to be treated again, and Cloud and Tahoy had picked up ticks and forays off the road. The girl was finished when Aniwa returned with 2 fat trout. Think this'll feed us? Camilla asked, holding them up. More than. I'm so tired I could eat. What a mouthful. Dane saw that Aniwa's hair was wet, and her face pink from scrubbing. It's safe to wash? If you make it fast. It's too cold to be slow. She hesitated. Need my help with supper? Aniwa waved her away. Tahoy will keep watch for you. The water was very cold. Dane scrubbed quickly and jumped out, feeling deep respect for Aniwa's courage. Supper, fish and a pot of spiced white cereal grains, Aniwa called rice, was hot and filling. They ate without talking, but the silence was a comfortable one. After the meal, Dane washed up. The fire was banked, their beds lay on the ground, ready for slumber. When she finished, she got into hers with a sigh. It was warm, and the heavy pad underneath eased the day's aches. As she watched, Aniwa got several pouches out and tied them to her belt. I told you I had the gift, right? Well, I'm going to place the wards now. Last call for the latrine. Dane yawned. I'm set, thanks. She watched as Aniwa drew a circle around the camp, ponies and all. First in salts, then in water. Soft chanting came from the woman as she walked the circle a third time, calling on magic powers to guard its contents. Red fire spilled from her hand to follow the circle and complete it. Ma did that, Dane commented sleepily, and Aniwa finished. It wasn't very good with it, though. It was easier to speak of her mother when she was so tired. Maybe she'd have been alive now if she'd have been better. Or not, Aniwa said, sliding between her blankets. There's always somebody with stronger magic. Lots of raiders have their own witch or mage. That's why every rider group has at least one member with the gift. Tell me about the riders. I only know they take girls. Aren't they like the regular soldiers? Not exactly. The fancy name is Irregulars. Sortel has a bad time with bandits, and the army's too big and too slow. Bandits hit and run. To fight them, you need to move the same way. The queen, Ayet, she started the riders 7 years back. The group run 6 or 8 riders each, male and female, mounted on ponies. Right now there are 6 groups posted all over Tortal. They live off the land, protecting the small villages from raiders. Who runs it? Queen Thayet is commander-in-chief. Her guard, Buri, handles day-to-day affairs, so she has the title commander. A black man, Sarge, comes just under them. The king's champion, you heard of, Alana. She helps out. Aniwa looked over and saw the girl was fast asleep. Smiling, she pulled up her covers and closed her own eyes. The badger crawled in with Dane soon after that. Although he was big, he didn't wake her. She was used to nighttime visitors. Without waking, she caressed the animal's head. He sighed gratefully and slept too, his muzzle pressed into her palm. She did notice him when she woke later and was careful as she sat up. I tell ye, I saw him. 2 strings of ponies, gold on the hoof, down in Tartal. The speaker's voice was rough and country bred. Reaching for the crossbow beside her, Dane saw that Aniwa and Tahoy were also awake. The dog's hackles were up, his teeth bared in a snarl, but he made no sound. Seeing her, the Khmer put a finger to her lips. Dane nodded, easing the bow into her lap. Inside her bed, her guest shifted nervously, quieting only when she rested a hand on his head. If you saw him, then where'd they go? Leaves rustled as men prowled the hollow around their campsite. I'm no witch. To guess such things, it's like they vanished off the face of the world. Shut up. They probably found a farm, or kept moving. Let's get back to the rest. The new voice held authority. The others grumbled, but obeyed. They had been gone some minutes before Dane relaxed enough to put her down her weapon. Dahoy licked Anya's face, his tail wagging. It's all right, Anya whispered. Nobody can hear us if we're quiet. That's some protection, Dane breathed. With Ma's circles, you couldn't get in, but you knew it was there. The Khmer grinned. Now you know how I can take the robe with just my assistant and Tahoy. She curled up in her blankets. Night. The badger grumbled as Dane settled and walked in her dreams. It's about time I found you, he said. You know how long I've been looking? I actually had to come into the human realms to get a scent of you. I don't wish to seem rude, she apologized, but why are you looking for me? I don't believe we've met. Have we? Not exactly, he admitted with an embarrassed snort. You see, I promised your father I'd keep an eye on you. So I looked in on you when you were a kid, pink and noisy. Then when I looked for you again, you were gone. I forgot time passes differently in the human realms. If she had been her waking self, saying he knew her father would have made her unbearably excited. Now, though, her dream self asked, as if it weren't too important, have you met my da, then? Yes, of course. Now, see here. I'm not coming to the human realms any more than I have to. If you're going to wander, we must be connected in some way. He looked at a paw and sighed. I know it barely hurts, and it grows back and all, but I still hate it. It's so messy. He began to chew at the base of one of his claws. No, don't. Please, she protested. I can't think. Someone just stood by my chocobo, targeted it, and summoned their own. It's so funny when you can tell someone's first time realizing the size of the Lala ones. Aw. Just making sure it's not a minion. Yeah. I lost my Badger Claw pendant my mom bought me for a birthday several years ago. It was off of Tamora Pierce's shop site. I used to imagine it was the entire paw until I realized it was just his claw, not his paw. But for the longest time, I thought it was his entire paw that he chewed off. Yeah, it was a $200 pendant as well, so I was like it pisses me off because I had always known where it was, and then the cats knocked it down, and then we moved, and I didn't find it before the move, so I have no idea where it ended up. Hopefully, just landed in a box or a bag that came with me, but probably landed in a garbage bag. In all honesty, I don't know. It's sad because it was a limited edition. I don't think you could buy it anymore. I don't want to double check because sometimes they restock the limited editions. No.
Hi, Botrix Official.
Thank you for the follow. Favorable thin.
Favorable thing.
Never mind. You're not welcome to be here. My elevator, like, Ben won't shut up. Yeah, no worries. I saw it at the same time it was posted. It's fine. Yeah, no, it's not available anymore. She was 281 Canadian. Oof. It was pretty though. This was the necklace. I replaced the strap, the necklace part of it, because it was a cheap, considering it's 281, it was a very cheap cord. Okay. Wait, how much? Yeah. Much for that. Okay. Back to it. Like, no, please don't. I can't think. The clock came off. He spat it into her lap. There. Hang it on. Hang on to it no matter what. This way I won't lose track of time, and I'll be able to find you. Understand? She nodded, then gulped. A silvery mist gathered around his paw and vanished. A new claw had appeared in the bed of the old one. Now go back to sleep. Cold air on her feet woke Dane in the morning. Her guest, working earlier to leave the bedroll, had pulled it apart entirely. She sat up with a yawn and a smile. To think she had dreamed of a badger who knew her father. Her hand was locked around something. A large animal's claw, or semblance of one, complete and perfect. It was made out of shiny silver. Goddess, she whispered. Dane? Ani was dressed and cooking breakfast. Let's go. No time to think about it now, she told herself, and scrambled out of her bedroll. As if I do, I won't know what to think. Later that day, she wove a thong to grip the base of the claw tightly and hung it around her neck. Just because she wasn't entirely sure of where it came from, there was no reason not to keep it close by. Just in case. We're at chapter 2. I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back. As I find the be right back button. Yay, the movie. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I am Buck. Sorry, my mouth sounds full because I'm just munching on some cotton candy. Ouch. And tomorrow, I thought it was my post-op appointment for top surgery. I thought it was with my surgeon, but apparently it's not with my surgeon, so that's gonna be interesting. I was wanting to talk with him. I was wanting to yell at him. Oh. Anyhow. Chapter 2. The Hawk. A week later, they crossed the River Drell into Tartal on a ferry boat, watching the Gallon shore pull away. Make sure not to consent to pictures. I am not gonna consent to pictures. I do not intend to. I also want to talk with him because, like, if he'd done what he said he was going to do, then I wouldn't look lopsided. Because, like, under my left arm, it's fine. Like, it looks normal, and under my right arm is kind of like side boob, and I'm like, that shouldn't be there. If you liposuct, there's a little bit of liposuction like he said you would, that wouldn't be there, and I'd be basically happy with what he did. Except he also said he would do the longer scars to lower the chance of dog ears, and he didn't. And the left side is starting the slightest bit of a dog ear popping up. It just depends on what angle you're looking at it, but it's there. I was like, if he done anything that he said he would do, then I wouldn't have any issues. Then then too, I also was like, he still says it'll look weird if you lose weight. So I also need him to add to my charts that I require a revision when I lose weight. Or rather, when I get to my goal weight. Hi, Rosto. Don't you make any problems. Okay. Chapter 2. The Hawk. Right. You read up to... You only read one line. A week later, they crossed the River Drell into Tartal on a ferry boat. Watching the Gallon shore pull away, Dane searched her soul. I should tell you the truth. It's just wiped on Bray. Oh no. Everyone pulled a little too hard and the healers just didn't keep up. Or did you get two brand new healers who had no idea what you were doing? About the normal for prey. I already finished my can of 7-Up that I got. By the way, I am not being paid by 7-Up by any means, but if you ever get the chance to try 7-Up grapefruit, it's like 7-Up Zero grapefruit, it is delicious. I should tell Anya the truth, she thought. By then, she had given her new friend the less painful details of her life, and had come to see Anya was right. It felt better to talk. I should tell the rest. But won't she turn on me like they did? Maybe it's best to keep shut. The madness, the scandal, it's all back there. Maybe that's where it should stay. She went forward to look at Turtle as it moved closer. I could start fresh. It can't be worse than home. Folk calling me bastard and scorning me. Nobody here knows I've no father. I don't know about the other thing. The bad thing. They don't need to know. You worry too much. Anya ruffled the girl's hair. It'll work out. You'll see. Cloud butted Dane's shoulder. Ahoy pawed her leg. Their concern and Anya's gave her comfort. I'll manage, she told herself as the ferry bumped the landing dock on the Turtallan shore. Silence is best. The country beyond the crossing was a mixture of hills and wide valleys. Some of it farmed and grazed, but most left to the woods. Towns here were back from the road, and traffic this early in the spring was thin. There was little to keep them from them from their usual routine of camp and march, riding the ponies, hunting for game. Excuse me. Hunting for game birds or fishing for their supper. The third day from the river brought rain, slowing them and the animals down before the sky cleared at day's end. Both women were up late, getting mud out of shaky coats and off their own skins and clothes. It was the first time on that trip that no animal crawled in with Dane overnight. She slept badly, flipping back and forth, never quite waking or sleeping. Her dreams were thin and worrisome. She remembered only one. The badger was in his lair, neatening up. There you are. I'm glad to see the claw work so well. Excuse me, sir, she began. No questions. Kits must listen, not ask. Pay attention. He squinted at her to make sure she was listening. If you look hard and long, you can find us. If you listen hard and long, you can hear any of us. Call any of us that you want. Rolling onto his back, he added, the madness was to teach you something. You should mind the lesson. He stood in the worst AoEs and just forgot to heal. Yeah. So the healers were literally just asleep. Too busy mocking guys, all of us. Yeah. Sounds about right. She woke a little before dawn. The sky was gray and damp, the air sour. Anya, and the woman only stirred and muttered. She went over and shook her. I think trouble's coming. The last time I felt this way, a rabid bear came out of the woods and killed a blacksmith. Sorry, I realized that the mic didn't pick up the last word of the last bit of that word. A rabid bear? Camille yanked on her clothes and Dane followed suit. Goddess, how many of those do you see in a lifetime? One's more than enough. She rolled up her bed and fixed it to her pack. The animals were restless and ill-tempered. Dahoy paced the clamp, his hackles up. He stopped often to look down the road, only to resume pacing. Maybe it's another storm? Anya suggested over breakfast. I don't think so. Dane gave her barely touched porridge to Cloud. My head aches. Not aches exactly. It's itchy. She sniffed the breeze, but picked up only the scent of water and plants. The wind's not right either. The Anya looked at her thoughtfully, then doused the fire. Let's go. She hitched the ponies to the lead reins while Dane secured the packs. There's a fief on the other side of this next valley, near a marsh. If need be, we'll ask for shelter. I'd prefer not to. She strung her curved bow. Lord Cynthia doesn't like the queen. He loathes the riders. Still, we can wait a storm out in his barns, particularly if no one tells him we're there. If we're caught in the marsh, we're in trouble. I don't have any marsh craft. Dane warmed her longbow and strung it. The quiver's weight on her back made her feel better. As they took the road. Past the next ridge, she saw a wide, shallow valley filled with reeds and water, with nowhere to hide. By the time they reached the center of the green expanse, the hair was standing straight out in the back of her neck. Where are the frogs and the birds? She wondered when they stopped for a breather. I don't even see dragonflies. Something made her glance at the wood that bordered the far edge of the march. Anya! She pointed at as a bird shot from the cover of the trees. It was black and hawk-shaped, flying crazily as if drunk. Shrieks, metallic and shrill, tore the air. 8 giant things. They looked like birds at first, chased the hawk out of the cover of the trees. Immense beaks beat the air that reached the women and ponies, filling their noses with a stink so foul it made Dane retch. The ponies screamed in panic. Dane tried to soothe them, though she wanted to scream too. These were monsters. No animal combined a human head and chest with a bird's legs and wings. Sunlight bounded off talons and feathers that shone like steel. She counted 5 males, 3 females. 1 female wore a crown of black glass. Anya gave a 2-fingered whistle that could be heard the length of the valley. When the monsters turned to find the source of the noise, the quarry dropped into the cover of the reeds and vanished. The monster swept the area over and over, trying to find the Black Hawk, without success. Look at them, Anya whispered. They use a grid pattern to search by. They're working that part of the marsh in squares. They're intelligent. And they can't land easy on level ground. Dane pointed out, the claws aren't meant to flatten out. They have to fly. They can't walk. When the creatures gave up, they turned on the woman. Dane watched them come, her bow, like Ani was, ready to fire. The attackers were smeared with filth. When they spoke or smiled, she saw razor-sharp teeth caked with what she knew was old blood. Halting over the road, they fanned their wings to stay aloft. Their smell was suffocating. We almost had the motherless spy, one of them snarled. But you had to interfere, another said. Never interfere with us. It lifted its wings above its head and stooped. The others followed. Dane, fire! Aniwa shot. Her arrow struck the first, hitting a wing with a sound of metal on metal, and bounced off. Dane struck a man-thing square on the throat. He dropped with a cry that bore sweat to her face. Aniwa and Dane fired steadily, aiming for the flesh of heads and chests. The female almost grabbed Dane by the hair before Aniwa killed her. Cloud got one by a leg, and Tahoy seized its other foot. Together, Pony and Dog tore the monster apart. Birds, herons, bitterns, plovers, larks rose from hiding places. Sorry, I thought someone was knocking. Rose from hiding places to fight the creatures, blinding some, pecking others, clogging the air so the enemy couldn't see. Many paid for their help with their lives. The glass-crowned one was finally the only monster alive. She hovered just out of Aniwa's range. One of the Chimera's arrows lodged in her shoulder. Pink pigs! She snarled. How dare you defy me? Maggots! You filth! Look who's talking! Dane shouted, sliding an arrow onto her string. She lowered her bow, wanting the creature to think she was done. Your maw was a leech with bad teeth, she taunted. Aniwa laughed in spite of herself. Your da was a peahen. I know chickens with more brains than you. The queen screamed and dropped. Claws extended. Dane brought the bow up, loosing as she reached the best point in her swing. Her arrow buried itself in the queen's eye as Aniwa cheered. Dane had another arrow in the string and in the air, but the queen pulled away. Blood dripped from her ruined eye. If she felt pain, she ignored it, hovering well out of bowshot, her good eye furious. Oh, I'll remember you, girlie. The hate in her voice forced Dane back up a step. Your name on my heart. She looked at Aniwa. I'll return for you two ground crawlers. You belong to Zene Bitterclaws now. She launched herself into higher air and was gone. I can't believe it. Aniwa sounded as if she were talking to herself. The rumor said there were monsters about, Rod. But these? Where did they come from? She went to examine the body of one of the creatures. The stink so bad she had to cover her nose to get close to it. Limping, Dane followed. She was unhurt, but she felt battered and cut and torn in 1,000 pieces. A chickadee lay in the road. She picked it up, to find a wing was attached by only a bit of skin. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She fall on the dying bird. All around her, birds lay in the rushes, bleeding, dead. I'm sorry, little ones, she whispered. You should have stayed hid. Her temples pounded. Stripes of black and yellow fire crossed her vision. Her ears filled with a roaring sound. And she fainted. Aniwa saw her fall. The bird that had been in Dane's hand jumped into the air and zipped past, nearly missing the Chimera's nose. In the marsh, she heard a rush of song. Birds took off, clumsily at first, as if they were stiff. An owl that lay in the road moved, then flew away as she stared. She was positive that the bird's head had been cut half off. Shaking her head, she went to the fallen girl. As far as she could tell, Dane was unhurt. With a grunt, the Chimera levered her onto her shoulder, surprised by how light she was. You need to eat more, she told her burden as she carried her to the ponies. Cloud trotted over to nuzzle Dane, worrying every line of the pony's body. I don't suppose you know a place where we could get off the road? Anua asked, half jesting, never thinking these animals would understand her as they did the girl. Cloud trotted into a nearby stand of reeds. Just beyond her, Anua saw a clearing, floored in solid ground. This was food for thought. Anua followed Cloud. The remainder of the ponies followed her, Tahoy bringing up the rear. Coarse hairs tickled Dane's face. Opening her eyes, she saw nothing but Cloud's nose. Let me up. Her voice emerged as a croak. I'm fine. She wasn't really. Her whole body ached. The pain that had knocked her out was over. Swallow this. Anua brought over a cup of water. Drinking it, Dane tasted herbs. A tingling filled her veins and left her feeling much improved. The only sign of the pain that had knocked her down was mild stiffness. I didn't faint as I'm a baby or anything, she began, afraid the Chimera would be disgusted by her weakness. She struggled to sit up and finished the water. Don't be silly, Anima gave her a silvery feather. Don't touch the edges, she warned. They're razor sharp. It was metal, etched and shaped like a feather. If it was steel, as it seemed to be, it was paper thin, impossible to bend. Moreover, it felt wrong, as the sight of the creatures had felt wrong. She knew nothing else. She knew nature. Such creations did not belong in the world. Seeing them made her feel wobbly and sick. What were those things? Do you know? I've heard tales, but they aren't supposed to exist. Not here. They're called storm wings. She heard awe and fear in Anua's voice. What are storm wings? The eaters. Anua wrapped the feather and put it away. But they're legends. No one's seen them for 4 centuries. They lived on battlefields, desecrating bodies, eating them, fouling them, scattering the pieces. She crouched beside Dane again. Listen, I need to leave you and the ponies for a while. But not too long. I can't tell you why. Then I'll follow. Dane was comfortable enough with her now to be blunt. This is a marsh, remember? Quicksand, mud, bogs, and snakes. You told me you don't know anything about marshes. I can't help that. What I must do is important. You stay put. A picture of the stormwings as they'd first seen them flashed into Dane's mind. It's that hawk, isn't it? She asked. Anua looked away. That black one. You tried to call him, but he couldn't make it, so he hid in the reeds. Now you want to go after him. Why is a bird so important? Anua's eyes glittered with annoyance. Never you mind. He is. That's all. He's more important than you can imagine. If something happens to me, take the ponies to the riders. Tell Burry or Sarge what happened. Dane saw how she might repay some of what she owed this woman for taking her in. I'll go. Out of the question. She retrieved her crossbow and quiver from the packs. Don't be silly. It's only a few hundred yards out. How much trouble can I get into? Besides, I know about bogs, and I can find lost animals. She waited the Chimera would find a good reason to keep her back. She saw a game trail leading into the reeds and took it. I'll yell for Tahoy if I get stuck. She called, Dane! There was no answer. When I was that age, I listened to my elders, Anua muttered, conveniently forgetting she had done no such thing. She grabbed Clown's reins as the pony tried to follow her mistress. No, you stay here, and don't try to argue. She tied the mare's rein to a string for the first time since they'd left the fair, and settled down to wait. The trail took Dane to a pond. She skirted it, always making for the spot where the monsters had left the wood. A grouse darted out of the brush. Following it, she walked a trail that lay on firm ground to reach the trees at the marsh's edge. There she sat on a rock, wondering what to do next. The bird was alive and had come down somewhere nearby to hide from the stormwings. It was nice, this green wilderness. The sense of growing things filled her nostrils. The sounds of animals and plants waking from their winter sleep filled her ears. What had the badger said in her dreams? If you listen hard and long, you can hear any of us, call any of us that you want. Surely listening wouldn't bring on the madness. She wasn't trying to be an animal. She just wanted to hear them. Definitely she'd taken advice from worse people than badgers in her time. Besides, the hawk was alive and hurt. It might be thrashing or crying its pain. She'd hear it, if she listened. She'd have to be very quiet then. She settled herself and slowed her breathing. Her blouse itched. She eased it. A burn throbbed on a finger. She put it in the back of her mind. A breeze fanned the tips of the reeds, making them sigh. 2 plops ahead, a pair of mating frogs. She had no interest in that. A rustle on her left, some feet behind, a pair of nesting ducks. Didn't people think of anything else? A gritty noise at her side was a grass snake coming up to sun. It was nice on the rock, the warmth just perfect on her face and on the snake. There, left, close to the trees. She frowned. It didn't sound like a bird, like the hawks and falcons back home. She felt dizzy and befuddled, almost like the time she had swiped a drink out of her mother's home-brewed mead. That yip was a fox who had found a black bird, a large one. Dane headed in his direction. The fox yipped again when she almost made a wrong turn. She found him next to a large, hollow log. The hawk had concealed itself inside. Thank you, she said. The fox grinned at her and vanished into the reeds while Dane looked at her new patient. Clever lad, to think of hiding there, she murmured. And since when did hawks ever think of concealing themselves? Come on out. They're gone. She put her hands into the log's opening, praying she wasn't about to get slashed. The bird waddled forward, easing himself into her palms. Moving very slowly, she lifted him out and placed him on top of his hiding place. He stared at her, beak open as he panted. The one outspread wing seemed broken in 2 places, maybe even 3. Her hair prickled at the sight. Her hair prickled the back of her neck. Anyone less familiar with hawks might have taken this bird for one. She could not. He was too big, and hawks were not solid black. His color was dull, like velvet. There was no gloss to his feathers at all. He wasn't wrong as the stormwings were wrong, but he was not right either. She cut reeds for splints. I'm from Aniwa Chamtong of the community Raide, she told him. Do you recognize the name? She didn't expect an answer. She knew a kind voice was something any hurt creature responded to. I have to splint that wing. It's broken. She cursed herself for not having bandages of any kind and cut strips out of a petticoat. It'll hurt, she warned. Try not to peck me, or we'll never get you fixed. Ignoring his gaze, she gently spread the wing. The hawk cried out only once. That was another strange thing, she thought. Other birds had savaged her for less pain than she was giving this one. She secured the outspread limb into its reeds framework, feeling him shake under her hands. "You're being a fine, brave lad," she crooned, securing the last cotton ties. "Your Ma'd be fair proud of you, wherever she is." Whatever she is. Repairs made, she slung the crossbow on her back. "I've got to carry you," she explained. "Try to keep still." When she'd gathered him up, taking care not to bump the wing, he trembled, but didn't bite or slash. "You're the oddest bird I've met in my life," she murmured as she followed the trail back to the road. Heavy, too. She was sweating by the time she found Anua. "His wings busted." "First Lords be praised! You found him!" The relief on the Chimera's face was scary. As if he's a friend or something, Dane thought. Anua lifted the hawk from Dane's arms, examining him with delicate fingers. Somehow Dane wasn't surprised to see that he was as calm with Anua as he'd been with her. If he moved the packs onto one of the gentler ponies, he could ride on them, Anua suggested. "We have to get well away before we camp." Dane nodded and shifted the packs to a mild-mannered chestnut gelding. On the road, the bird rode quietly, panting without making any other sound. They left the marshy valley and entered the wood, moving on after dark. Anua lit the way ahead with her magic. They had walked for hours before she took them off the road, onto a small path. Here she lit a torch and gave it to Dane. Farther up, there's an open shed for drying wood. It's big enough to shelter us and the ponies. She dug out the materials she used to work her magic. Get a fire going. I'll be there as soon as I can. She went back to the road, a bag of powder in her hand. Tahoe started to follow. She ordered him to go with Dane. "I think she wants to hide our trail," Dane told the dog. She led the pack pony, and the others followed obediently. "But why? The monster, what's her name? Zene Bitterclaws? Can she see in the dark? Apart from revenge, why follow us?" She glanced at the hawk. Meeting his eyes darkly still made her head spin. "Not for you, surely." The bird shuddered. The shed was big, with 3 walls to keep out the wind. Moreover, it had a fire pit inside and a well outside. With relief, she freed the ponies, watered them, and fed them grain from the extra stores. Tahoe had brought in 3 rabbits that afternoon. As soon as the fire was going, Dane skinned and gutted them. 2 went on the pit for her and Anua. Tahoe got half of the 3rd. Cutting strips from the remaining half, she offered it to her patient. He turned his head away. Perhaps he hadn't gotten the sense? Dane waved it in front of him. Again, he turned his head aside. She sniffed the meat. It was no different from what Tahoe crunched so happily nearby. She laid it on the pack in front of the bird, having moved his travel arrangements to the floor of the shed. The hawk picked the morsel up in his beak and threw it away. Getting the rejected meat, she offered it to Tahoe. The dog ate it and returned to his bones. Planting her hands on her hips, Dane scowled at the bird. She'd heard of captive animals refusing to eat, but such a thing had never happened to her. "There's many a hawk who'd be happy for a nice bit of rabbit," she told him, not even realizing she sounded like her ma. "Now, I'll give you another piece. Don't you go throwing that away, or I won't give you any more." She offered a fresh strip to the bird, who sniffed it and turned his head. She placed it before him, and he threw it to Tahoe. "He won't eat," she told Anua when the Chimera joined them. "What's the matter with him? I've never had an animal that wouldn't eat for me." The woman crouched near the hawk, her gray eyes puzzled. "Let me try. Maybe it's because he doesn't know you." I've fed plenty of animals I've never met, that never met me first. Jane snapped, cutting another strip of meat for Anua. Hawk refused it as well. Anua scratched her head. Try cooked meat? I have to ward this place. There are armed men all over the road, searching. She walked outside the shed. For us? Dane asked. Anua shook her head and began the now familiar spell. Not for you, surely, the girl whispered to the hawk, cutting meat off the spit. She cooled it with water and offered it to her patient. He sniffed it for a while, but refused it in the end. Maybe he's sick? Anua suggested as she ate. I broke my collarbone once, and I was queasy for a day or two. That's shock. Jane rested her chin on her knees. I suppose that might be it. He's not just any creature. Anua finished her meal. He may be a little strange to care for, Dane. Just do your best, okay? The girl woke in the night to hear a quiet murmur. Peeking with a half-closed eye, she saw that Anya sat with the hawk, talking softly to him. Mal said I was fair foolish with animals. Oops. She thought, rolling over. She went back to sleep. Becca, stop going on my keyboard. Oh. Oops. Sorry, Beck. Sorry, my cat is like being super cuddly. And it's a cat that isn't normally cuddly. Actually, I could do it this way. One sec. Oops, sorry, Bex. Thanks, Becca, for pushing the button for me. I know your Tamagotchi almost dead and almost dead and miserable. Aw. Well, at least it's still alive. Yeah, my cats like to push the sound buttons, even during work meetings. Hey, stop that. Stop that. It's not for scratching. Not for scratching. Stop. Becca, stop. I mean, I got the worst care adult, but it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, if you forgot it was running, then it makes sense. Sorry, my cat's being uber cuddly right now. And it's the one that isn't usually cuddly, so I'm not gonna turn her down. Hi. Food discount day? It's been so long since I've had a Tamagotchi. Ah, I see. What's wrong with cereal? Although, to be fair, I don't like much cereal myself. So, I can relate. Hey, stop. Don't attack my crow skull. I have a copper crow skull. Or a crow skull made from a copper crow skull made from a mold of a crow. Becca, stop. Okay, there we go. She goes to escape whenever she feels like I'm gonna grab her. Okay. Please calm down a bit. I spoke too soon, didn't I? Bugger. Pomp. She went far. Okay, there we go. I wanted to lose all of my collected things. I'd restart and say I was in a different region, because I guess there's a region exclusive furniture and stuff. Oh. Okay. Where are we? They moved on in the morning. Searchers passed them on the road, men on horseback and men afoot, but none appeared to see the bird riding on in state on ponyback. I can't throw fire or heal, Anya told Dane, but when I hide a thing, it stays hidden. For 3 days they pushed on. The hawk's eyes still would not focus, and his balance was poor. After some debate with herself, Dane lightly bound his claws to the pack he rested on. He didn't seem to mind, which bothered her still more. Even the mildest sparrow would have fought the ties. Her patience worsened. She refused any and all meat, raw or cooked. Their third day together, she offered him raw egg, and then cheese. He ate both, to her joy, but vomited it up later. That night, she woke to hear Anya chanting a spell over him, but it didn't seem to help. Khmer still talked to him about human things, road conditions, the fair in Korea, the doings of the Queen's riders. Region exclusive, I posted. Oh yeah, I saw it pop up. Cool. Once after meeting the bird's eyes, Dane walked into a ditch. Another time she fell over her own feet. After that, she avoided his gaze and resented it. Why couldn't she look at this bird? And why did she not feel connected to him as she felt with other creatures? His wing did not heal. The first night, she stayed up with him, coaxing water mixed with honey into his beak. It did no good. The fever she had fought to prevent set in and began to climb. She woke Anya sometime after midnight. He's going to die. Not today. Tomorrow, maybe. I hate losing one I've nursed. To her shame, she felt tears on her cheeks and wiped them away with an impatient hand. He's not right. He's not like any bird I ever met. I can't fix him. Let me stop at a village or town and find a sorcerer who might. Anya shook her head. Out of the question. When Dane opened her mouth to argue, the woman said, There are reasons. Important ones. She tugged at her lip and came to a decision. All right, get some rest. I'm calling for help. Horse Lord's willing somebody will be in range. Dane was too exhausted to protest or ask questions. It was hard. even to crawl into her bedroll. The last thing she saw was Anua, kneeling before a fire that now burned scarlet, hands palm up in a summoning. She slept until dawn, and Anua greeted her cheerfully. I got lucky. Help is closer than I thought. Eat something and you might want to wash up. There's a bathing pool behind that hill. They'll be here around noon. Hey, who? Dane's voice came from her throat as a croak. Anua shook her head. Wonderful. More secrets. My favorite. Dane muttered grumpily as she found towels and soap. Since the day was warm, she had washed her hair and took extra time to scrub every inch of her skin. Why hurry, she thought, still feeling grouchy. They won't get here till noon, whoever they are. Hawk's eyes were closed when she returned, and he was shivering. She wormed small rocks and wrapped them in cloths, towels, scarves, and handkerchiefs. Carefully talking to him, and the whole time she cocooned the bird and rocks in a blanket. Hoping this to sweat the fever out. After an hour of the extra warmth, he took some heated water and honey when she coaxed. Anua had worn herself out with the magical efforts and slept all morning. Dane had to content herself with frequent trips to the road, looking for the promised help. Cloud and Tahoe followed her, as worried as she was. Sun was at its height, covered by the thickening clouds, when she saw movement to the east. She raced back to camp. Anua, there are people coming. The Khmer grabbed her bow and arrows. Dane got hers. They went to the road and to wait. It wasn't long before Anua said, It's my friends. The ones in white are the king's own. They answered directly to King Jonathan. Dane gaped at the company that approached. Mail-clad warriors on beautiful horses rode in 4 rows, their white hooded capes flapping grandly at their backs. The earth shook with the pounding of their steeds' hooves. Before them came a standard bearer, his flag a silver blade and crown on a royal blue field. Beside him was a full knight in gold-washed mail, his gold helm mirror bright. He bore a lance. On his left arm was a red shield with a device like a gold cat rearing its hind paws. The knight's horse was bigger than those of the white-caped warriors, though not as large as the chargers normally. Sorry, my cat's knocking over dolls now. Not as large as the chargers normally used by those who wore full mail or plate armor. It was as gold as the cats on the knight's shield, the black mane and tail. Together, the company made a picture out of legends. Oh, glory! Whispered Dane. Reaching Anua, the knight halted the warriors with a raised hand. His horse refused to stop and walked up to butt his head against Dane's chest. You beauty, she whispered, running her hand along his mane. Oh, you pretty, pretty thing. Laughing, Anua went to the war horse's head and gently made him back up. The knight peered down at the Khmer through his open visor. Are you camped here? Anua nodded, and he turned to his company. Hakim, this is it. The brown man in the front of the rank of the white-caped riders nodded and called out instructions. The result was instant activity. Men dismounted, giving their reins over to a few of their number, while others removed packs from their mounts and from the spares. Within seconds, they were off the road, erecting tents to share the clearing with ponies and Tahoe. The knight secured shield and helm to his saddle. Dismounting, he gave the reins to one of the others, then stripped amethyst-decorated gauntlets from his hands. I should have changed to leather, he complained. My back has been one whole itch this last mile. He grinned at Dane. The outfit looks nice, but it's not very comfortable. Dane was very confused. Out of the saddle, the knight was 2 whole inches shorter than she was. Just think for a moment. Alana's full grown. Dane is 13 years old. And she's like, you're right. Yeah. Shorter than she was, and built on stocky, not muscular lines. His cropped, coppery hair was tousled from being inside a helmet. Amethysts winked at his earlobes, stones that matched the color of his eyes. My wits have gone begging, Anya said. Dane, this is Sir Alana of Pirate Swoop, and Alao, King's champion. Alana, this is Dane. Wait till you see what she can do with animals. Dane stared at the hand offered her, then into the purple eyes. The champion? The knight they call the lioness? Don't tell me, Alana said. You expected someone bigger. Dane took the offered hand, remembering her patience, she asked, Can you help? I can't fix him at all. Anua took the champion's elbow. Alana's a healer and a sorceress. If she can't come up with something, no one can. Aren't you going to be sorry if I can't? The knight asked as Anua steered her towards the ailing hawk. Dane unwound the bird from his wraps. He won't eat anything but a little honey and water, she explained. Not meat or fish. He's dizzy all the time. The purple eyes looked at her sharply. How could you know that? Dane met the gaze squarely. I just do. I've a knack with animals. Anya chorused along with her and grinned. Alana lifted the burb. Wait, 1 sec. I unplugged my keyboard.
Burb, sure, woulda.
Alana lifted the bird with care for the slinted wing. The hawk blinked, looked at her, and buried his head against her chest. He knows me. Good. She carried him to a tent the warriors had set up, and went inside. Wait here, Anya told Dane. Don't let these men bully Tahoy or the ponies. She followed the knight inside. Dane realized she ought to pick at the strings so the smaller horses wouldn't disturb the big ones. Tahoy stuck close to her as she worked, and Cloud was on her best behavior. The warriors smiled at her as they set up more tents and built cook fires. A handful went to the nearby river with fishing lines in their hands. She would have liked to go too, but she couldn't bring herself to ask these businesslike Tartalans. Great merciful goddess! A shout came from the tent where Lana and an Anua had taken the hawk. Of all the gods cursed, simple-minded... Dane gaped. The man with the knight had called Hakim smiled. The lioness has a temper, he told the girl. Sometimes it gets the better of her. The knight stamped out of the tent. She had discarded mail for breeches and a white shirt. At her throat, a red gem burned like a coal in the fire. I can't see. Her purple eyes lit on Dane. You, girl, come here. The Hoy growled, bristling. He didn't like the knight's tone. Alana stared at the dog and then smiled. I'm sorry, Dane, would you come here, please? I think I need your help. Steering the girl into the tent, she said, Anya says you found him under unusual conditions. The hawk lay in a man-sized cot, his eyes wide and frightened. How? There was something here that pounded on her ears, making her nervous. Honest, your ladyship. Alana, was the firm interruption. She thought of calling the champion the only lady knight in living memory by her first name and winced. I listened for him, is all. I sat down and just listened. Would you do it for me now, please? Dane swallowed. He's right there, Mum. Lioness. Turn your back to him, if that helps. Alana fiddled with the red gem at her throat. Listen for him exactly as you listened back then. Listening's fine, Dane thought nervously. You only listened before and had no trouble, and the badger said it was alright. Well then. Closing her eyes, she emptied her mind, letting her breath slow until she couldn't hear it. She concentrated on her ears. Outside, Cloud chewed on a clump of grass, thinking she ought to check on Dane, alone with strangers. The gold warhorse shifted. He wanted to run some more. There! A strange and distant voice. One that sounded like no animal she knew. That had to be the Hulk. Was he muttering to himself? I hear him. That sleepy voice was hers. He's a prisoner. He can't get out. He's just on the bed. Hush. Purple fires played inside her island. Call him, Dane. With your mind. His name is Numer Samerlen. Alana. Maybe Aram's better. That was Anua. Sounding distant. He's only been Numer for 8 years. He's been Aram all his life. True. Call to him as Aram, Dane. The fires evened into a steady purple light, warming her face like the sun. Why? Call him. The knight's voice was gentle but firm. Dane sighed. Aram Semelin? Aram, come on. You're too far off. It's alright. Aram, it's safe. Something behind her snapped, breaking her concentration. She opened her eyes as wooden sticks hit the tent wall in front of her. The hawk splints. Now look at this, she scolded, picking them up. His wing won't get any better that way. She turned to show them the evidence. The hawk was gone. Anua pulled a sheet up to cover a large, naked man. This is where I put my age difference kink started. I don't know. He smiled drowsily at the three of them. Can I have something to eat? Dane's jaw fell open. Where did he come from? Alana bent over to the newcomer, peering into his eyes. Anua grabbed the girl's elbow and steered her out of the tent. Explanations later, the Khmer said, there's a lot to be done for him still. Anua, where's my hawk? Where'd that man come from? Her knees shook. He's like 100 years older than her. You know that. He's not 100 years older than Dane. I think he's in his 30? Early 30s? And that man come from? Where do people come from? They're not supposed to be anywhere near me. I mean, I respect him for not pushing the relationship for the exact reason I'm making a fuss over. Yeah. Anya put a hand on Dane's mouth. Hush! No more questions. I'll explain everything later. She went back into the tent, pulling the flap tightly shut behind her. Later, Dane muttered to herself. Wonderful. Hawks disappearing, men appearing. Why not? Later. She stamped off to look after the ponies, who at least would tell her things and not wait for any laters. Becca, stop. Stop. Okay. I am gonna stop there for tonight. I'm outside. Who are these people? Where did my burb go? Normal worries, right? Burbs always magically disappear and show up as handsome men. It's happened twice in Tortal now. And neglected Tama is on a date. Aw. He's gonna complain. He's gonna complain on the date. It's like, I've been starving for millennia. How are you doing, gal or boy? I have been alive for 2 days and only cared for twice. In his point of view, it's been forever. I need to remember to push buttons. Yeah, we're gonna end that here with chapter 2. That's what she said. Anywho, we're gonna end that here. Let me see if anyone's live that I can send you over to. Maybe some... I'm just gonna send y'all over to Naomi G. Looks like she's just starting up, actually. Someone with people already active. Let's go to Sakura. She's doing some artwork today. Yeah, I'm gonna head to bed. Hope everyone has had a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow with some Final Fantasy XIV. Bye.